Let's talk about dividing fractions. We have added, we've subtracted, we've multiplied with mixed numbers and negative fractions and positive fractions. So let's finish it off with dividing. Here's the standard. I'm going to finish this one off. All right, so let's talk about what division is. Division is when we take stuff, all right? We take stuff and we make it into groups. So here's an idea. What is $1 if we divide it by 4? $1 divided by 4. Well, you can see it here, right? So if I take $1, okay, I could break this into pieces, right? So what I'm saying here is I'm taking $1, right, and dividing it by 4. But the new way we say this is instead of using this thing, we say I'm going to take $1 and divide it by 4, right? And that's what I get is these things called quarters. That's why they're called quarters, right? 1/4 quarters, okay? And what does that look like as a decimal? Well, hopefully you looked at this and you said, oh, that looks like 25 cents, 25 hundredths, okay? All right, so that's what $1 is divided by 4. Now, let's take a look at this. What is $1 divided by 1/4? $1 divided by 1/4. So, sort of saying, okay, if I take a dollar and I make it into groups of quarters, how many groups will I have? Okay, how many groups will we have? Because we can look at its division as this, right? Division, right, is when we have groups of stuff, right? Groups of stuff, okay? And what it's going to look like is I have the stuff, right? Total stuff. And what I do is I divide it either into number of groups, right? Okay, and if I do that, if I want to make it into groups, then I find out my answer is how much is in each group, right? How much stuff in each group. Okay? But another way of looking at this is I could say this right here, how much stuff is in each group, and the number of groups, right? The number of groups that I have. I can reverse these, right? I could put this over here, and I could say if I take my total stuff and I say this is what I want in each group, now tell me what the number of groups is, right? And that's what this problem is doing. It's saying if I have a dollar, right, and I put it into a group, right, and the group is 1/4, right? I take a dollar and I put it into a group of 1/4. How many groups will I have? Well, I'm going to end up with 4 groups, okay? Because what I've done is I take this $1 and I make like 1/4 is in a group, right? Here's a fourth, here's a fourth, here's a fourth, here's a fourth. How many groups did I make? I made 4. So what this would look like is 1, right, divided by 1/4. Or you could say 1 divided by 1/4. That's what this stuff is going to look like, okay? Remember, the fraction bar is just another way of saying divide. All right, so here's some ideas about how to divide fractions, right? And I would definitely write this down so that if you get stuck, you can go back, all right? So divide any number by a fraction. We're actually going to multiply the number by the reciprocal of a fraction, okay? And then we're going to simplify the resulting fraction if possible, and then we're going to check our answer. So we also can only divide by things that aren't 0, right? So I'm going to go through, I'm going to show you how to do this whole dividing by a reciprocal, and then I'm going to give you another method of dividing, which hopefully will make some pretty good sense. I think you'll understand what's going on, right? This is sort of just telling you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about why it works, okay, and what this thing looks like, okay? We'll probably do more of that in class. So let's talk about this first. What is a reciprocal, right? So a reciprocal is when we flip the fraction upside down. We're going to switch the numerator and the denominator, right? So if things go correctly, I'm going to embed some questions on the side here. So I'd like you to try Normally I'd say pause the video, right? So when I say pause the video, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to put these questions actually in the video themselves. That's sort of the test that we're going to run with this one. Okay, so we have 3/4. Go ahead and you try doing the reciprocal of 3/4. Okay, well, hopefully you did it, and hopefully you switched them around and you got 4/3. Okay, and if you did, congratulations. If you didn't, hopefully you understand the reciprocal, right? So we just reverse it. The numerator becomes the denominator becomes the numerator. All right, you try doing some more. Okay, so go ahead and try writing the reciprocals for each of these. Go. All right, so hopefully you took a look at this one and you said, all right, that's 5/4. And the reciprocal of 7/8 is 8/7. And the reciprocal of 2/9 is 9/2. Okay, so let's move on a little bit here. Why don't you go? Here's a couple more reciprocals I'd like you to try doing here. So why don't you go ahead and try some of these? All right, so let's take a look. 1/2. 1/2 becomes 2/1, which I could actually simplify to just 2. Okay, which I'm hoping you look at 3 and you go, oh, now I can see how to do the reciprocal of 3. The reciprocal of 3 is 1/3, right? Because this is actually the numerator. The denominator of any whole number is really just 1. Okay, so then looking at 1/4, hopefully you went and said, yep, that's going to be 4/1, which is the same as 4. 2 1/5, that's a little tricky. Okay, the denominator on that is actually 5. The numerator is not going to be 1, but rather 11. Okay, so what happens here is you have to change this into an improper fraction, right? So I take the 2 whole, cut them into 5 pieces each. That makes 10 pieces. Add the extra 1, I get 11 pieces. Those pieces are fifths, so my reciprocal is to flip that one upside down. Okay, let's move on. So in order to do that, right, so we've already learned how to multiply fractions. So now to divide them, you're going to take the first number, right, and you reverse the second one, okay? You reverse the one that's after the division symbol, all right? We don't flip the first one. That's a mistake students oftentimes make, okay? This is the total thing we're starting with, and I'm dividing it by this, okay? So if I'm going to multiply this, right, I'm going to take 2/3 and I'm going to multiply, okay, multiply this by 5/4. Okay. 5/4, right? So as I do this, right, I'm going to make it 5/4, and then I can go ahead and multiply, and I'm going to get 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 4 is 12. So 10/12, okay? And if I do that, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to simplify, right? I'm going to simplify to make 5 10/12 into 5/6. Now, one of the things we could have done ahead of time here, right, save some time, do some pre-simplifying. If you notice, you're like, oh, there's a 2 and there's a 4, and those are both even. I can divide both of those by 2 to begin with. So this becomes 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2, right? And so 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 2 is 6, okay? So you do that same idea, right? Because what I'm doing here is I'm going to say 10 is divisible by 2, 12 is divisible by 2, which ends up giving me 5/6. Same idea. Okay, why don't you go ahead and try giving this one a shot? Okay, first, right, we're going to take this, we're going to take 5/8 and divide it by 3/4, okay? So 5/8 divided by 3/4 is going to be the same as 5/8 multiplied by 4/3, okay? Then what I can do here is I can go ahead and multiply, so 5 times 4 is 20, 8 times 3 is 24, okay? Divide both of them by, hopefully you see that they're divisible by 4 right away, but let's say maybe you just say they're even. Okay, so we divide by 2, divide this by 2, and I get 10/12 again, right? And then I divide this by 2 and this one by 2, and I end up with 5/6. Okay? Now, again, what I could have done to begin with is I could have said, ooh, the 4 and 8, these are both divisible by 4, right? Oops. Okay, I can divide this by 4, which leaves me with 1, divide this by 4, which leaves me with 2, and then what I get is 5 times 1 is 5, right? And 2 times 3 is 6. Same idea. Good? All right, let's go ahead. What is 1/2 divided by 1/3? Why don't you go ahead and answer that question? Okay, now hopefully you didn't answer A, because A would be if I did 1/2 multiplied by 1/3, okay? But I'm not doing 1/2 to multiply, but I'm taking 1/2 and I'm making it into groups with 1/3 in each group, okay? So this is what I'm doing. So I'm going to multiply by 3 over 1, okay? And I'm going to get 3 halves, okay? And I can't simplify that, and I'm going to leave it as an improper fraction. And so my correct answer would be C. All right, hopefully you have a general idea. Hopefully we were able to interact with the video a little bit better this time. Please leave me any comments or send me an email whether or not you like this form, didn't like this form, and we'll see you after break.